Hi everyone, welcome to Nutmeg Sports for a Wednesday here on the HAN Network. Donald Eng, of course, takes Wednesdays off, so Dave Stewart comes up, and Mike Suppy standing alongside of me. I'm Rob Adams. Happy to have you along for our final edition of the week. And really, Dave, this is the final edition of our show for the winter season when you think about it.
All wraps up this weekend. We've got swimming, we've got the swimming championships, we've got the hockey championships, girls and boys basketball. Everything's done.
We'll get started with Mike, and happy to bring him on for a few minutes so we can talk to him about some really wild hockey last night down at Ingles Rink. I mean, doubleheader action, but that second game, the game that you really tweeted away on, really that was a special game last night.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of humdrum games in my career, you know, ones where you're falling half asleep during them and yawning and, you know, cursory updates of the score at halftime and, you know, first intermission, that kind of stuff. That game last night was worth a million of those snooze fests because that game was something else. It was one of the most probably exciting high school games and hotly contested games that I've ever covered, and it was SWS pulling off a 6-5 win over a feisty Woodstock Academy team in only their third varsity season. That really impressed me with the way they played. It was somewhat similar to a game I covered last year when Massac beat West Hill in the semifinals of Division III and a 4-3 win in overtime, where West Hill was a little bit up against the wall against a deeper team with skating more lines, and that's what Woodstock faced last night against SWS. Found themselves down 3-1, then winning 5-3. You know, early in the third period, a couple bad puck luck for them. You know, the game gets tied, and then they kill off an 8-minute power play basically. The Wreckers, despite I think they outshot them 56-26, something like that, and despite all of that rubber on goalie Cal Wilcox, they couldn't get one through, and it went to overtime, where they hit, by my count, 3 posts, SWS, where you thought the game was legitimately over, where everybody starts cheering, and they're like, ooh. And then they finally score the game-winning goal on a shorthanded goal with one of their guys in the box. So it was just really an impressive game, and they're going back to their first final since 2011, the Wreckers. And Woodstock, I mean, they have 3 players that really impressed me: Nathan DeLuca, Ryan Black, who has 99 points this year, which is, you know, Wayne Gretzky level really amount of scoring for high school. He scored a natural hat trick in the game last night, and if you're not a big hockey fan, natural hat trick is when you get 3 in a row with nobody else scoring, your team or the other team. He had a natural hat trick in the second period, and then their goalie, who I said before, Cal Wilcox, who made 50 saves. I mean, he was just facing, you know, shot after shot after shot from, you know, the Wreckers' top guys like Ryan Johnson, you know, Ian Offenberg, who ended up scoring the game-winning goal. It was just, you know, a really exciting game.
Really, I mean, I was following the tweets. I saw some of the videos, some of which you shot. I saw Pete Paguago's video of the winning goal. I mean, Dave, it was quite a scene there, and to me, that's still one of the best places to go watch hockey, certainly for high school in this state.
Yeah, definitely. It's just a great arena. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun there, but
yeah.
But other than that, once you get in the arena, it's a great place to watch hockey. And you got to figure at that point in an overtime game, 11 goals scored. There's so much emotion and so much energy expended at that. Everybody must have just been gassed at that point.
How was the crowd?
It was impressive for both sides. I mean, Woodstock had a great contingent of fans there for being, you know, almost 2 hours away. A long drive for them for the nightcap there, and SWS had a lot of students there, a big fan base. It was one of the best crowds for a Division III game I've seen, because, you know, you get out in Division III, a lot 7 towns, like some of them, or, you know, 3 or 4 schools, like, you know, SWS is, where you don't know who exactly is going to come, you know, what the following is, but they had a great fan base. And then Woodstock, which, you know, I was impressed by the amount of fans that they brought down, you know, coming just all the way down to New Haven from, you know, up the outskirts of Connecticut, almost up off of 384.
Yeah, they're about 15 minutes from the Massachusetts border,
yeah.
So it's like they're practically a Massachusetts team.
Yeah,
you know?
they practically are.
But they're rumored to be one of the teams that might start one of the schools that might start a girls hockey team next year. So that could be another addition to the league.
Let's face it, girls ice hockey can use more teams, more players. So that's great, you know, as you want to continue to see that climb. And what would be better than to see Ingles Rink fill up with a girls hockey state championship game as well?
Exactly. It would be great. I mean, it would be great if they could get CIAC certified and you know, move into that that type of arena.
And we had a triple header last year due to the snow. Normally they do a Friday night and then a double header on Saturday, but last year they went with a triple header on Saturday, so it made for a fun long day. So it'd be fun to have that, say, Friday night one game, the two games on Saturday, and maybe put the girls' game in between the two boys' games. I think you'd get some good crowds for that.
It could be done. It could be done, definitely, and it would be great because there's a lot of hockey aficionados who just they'll stay through all three. They would watch a day full of hockey. I like just hanging out in the building and just watching it. The PA announcer's great. I mean, the whole all that said, we hear so much about this kind of I don't want to sound like I'm being the salesman for the FCIAC, but there's so much anti-FCIAC talk. The FCIAC can kind of crow a little bit right now because you've got Darien playing in the semifinal tonight. You've got already Fairfield, the co-op, is in D2, and now you've got an all FCIAC, and yes, SCC, SWC, I don't forget about them, but an all FCIAC final in D3. Oh no, it's great, and you got to figure, as even if Darien loses, the FCIAC's looking at having half of the 6 finalists and definitely getting at least one championship there. And Fairfield's playing really well too. They could easily take that. If they continue to play the way they've been playing. Darien, Notre Dame, West Haven tonight. That's an interesting one. That's a tough game, and as we did that game earlier this year, and do you remember it was there were a little bit of extracurricular activity going on, a lot of emotions running high. Some kids ended up suspended. I believe they even had to stop the handshake line at the end of the game, which you rarely see. And so it was ended emotionally, and hopefully they can avoid that type of thing tonight and just have a great game.
Mike, did you get to see West Hill Stanford in their semifinal game as well?
I did, and I watched them clamp down on a very talented NFI team.
That surprised me.
I mean, that was a 2-0 game in the third period, and NFI scored to cut it to 2-1, and then West Hill Stanford just really, used their size and their suffocating defense to really shut off a high-powered team that, was the #1 seed that had basically not given up a goal through the Division III playoffs. And, getting back to West Hill, last year I saw them as a standalone team make it to the semifinals, and they have a lot of guys back from that team. And, joining up with a Stanford team that was struggling for numbers and wins last year, to combine forces like that, I mean, you wouldn't typically think of 2 FCIAC teams being all the way down in Division III, co-op, with co-op schools. But
right.
I mean, these teams have, they've proven that they're the class of the Division III there. Whereas, I mean, I think if SWS wins, I think they're going to have to go up to Division II because they, I think with the title would probably kick them up because they had been in Division II after they made it to the final in 2011. I think in 2012 they went up to Division II, so they might not be down there for long. And they're a team that has proven they can beat Division I teams. They beat St. Joe's, and when they faced West Hill Stanford, I believe it was a 3-2 win for the Wreckers when they played during the regular season. 2 teams, so it should be a really good matchup.
It really should be a good matchup, and I find myself thinking that I have to recognize that I didn't want West Hill, and I admit this, I didn't want West Hill to begin with. Was always a great hockey town. Now it had fallen down a little bit. Yes, there had been some problems with the wins and losses and maybe participation as well, but I hated to see it. As you said, to see 2 teams co-op different is wrong. They're here and they're in the championship and they have as good a chance as SWS. It should set up for a good game on Saturday. Quick SWS question, Dave, for those who don't know. Now, what is their status going into next year in terms of the FCIAC? Are we aware of it?
Right on the team are grandfathered in. So as long as they do not add any other players from those schools, the only stipulation they have on them is that a player from Weston or from Shelton can't make the All-FCIAC team. So if you're from Staples and you play for that team, you're on the All-FCIAC. You can be on the All-FCIAC team. Last year with what was going on, and they wouldn't have made it in anyway. They lost to Fairfield in the last game of the regular season. That knocked them out. But the idea might need players.
Shelton was formerly co-oping with Wilbur Cross at one point, so their team, they have a team I would say is probably 75% Staples players.
Do you get a sense for who has the better standing going into Saturday?
I think it's a total toss-up. I'll let the experts like CT Hockey Twitter, who if anybody knows anything, he had said that he gives us. I mean, I think it's anybody's game, to be honest. SWS might be a little emotionally drained after that game, but they have a couple days off. You never know. They have they can score a lot of goals, and they have a win over West Hill Stanford already. So, I would say that they would be my pick. SWS. I can't see them getting all. West Hill Stanford is going to be so far in the tournament.
Yeah, I always feel like Division III is kind of a crapshoot. Anyway, the whole tournament, and if a team gets hot, which obviously these two teams are hot right now, and
the games are less wide open for
yeah,
sure.
Exactly.
I mean, you don't see a lot of 6-5 games in Division I. That's for sure.
So hockey will be your focus this weekend, or are you keeping an eye also on basketball?
For me, I'll be at Ingalls. And the way the scheduling is, that's not a problem for me, because the way they set up the schedule for basketball is.
We're coming back to that topic in a little bit.
So
we will come.
I'm fine going. Taking. Will be well run, etc., etc. That's
a good deal. By the way, we'll goof around. Speaking of basketball, just for the fun of it, maybe we'll throw out a few.
You have to say it's probably Prep Hillhouse, because they seem like they always play each other. But Weaver, I got nothing but the utmost respect. That won Class M last year and asked to be in Double L to play against the best teams in the state, unlike some of the other teams that are still remaining in the state tournament that are private schools and etc. that are beating up on. It's tough to root against Weaver. I mean, they're an extremely talented team. You just got to roll the balls out there and see who goes. It's going to be chalk no matter what with the 4 seeds left.
Final thought before we let you run. How far does UConn go in the other Final Four?
One game at a time. I mean, are on UConn, which is always a good sign. And then you get to that second game, anything can happen. Some of the experts are saying that UConn has pros on their team, whereas Kansas doesn't. And obviously everyone knows in the NCAA tournament you win with the best players. So. We'll see. I mean, they're not going to be intimidated by anyone, that's for sure.
All right, Mike, thanks for your time. We'll see Mike Suppy again soon. We'll take a break here on Nutmeg Sports. Dave and I come back right after this on the HAN Network.
Here at the Darien Sports, shopping for work, weekend, or wedding, we've got the latest styles and trends inside our spacious new department just for you. We have vast selection of Peter Millar, Vineyard Vines, Johnny O, Duckhead, Barber, and so much more. And you can even walk out of the store in the new Wolverine 1,000-mile men's boot. Conveniently located with free and easy parking at 1127 Post Road, Darien, Connecticut.
Can't wait for it to get warmer so you can start fishing again? Get over to the Dock Shop, where they have the latest in fishing tackle, marine electronics, boating supplies, and more. But remember, the Dock Shop isn't your average tackle shop. You'll also find the finest selection of nautical apparel, jewelry, home decor, and gifts in New York. This is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, dockshop.com.
I'm Kate Chaplinsky. Join us there, high school sports and more. News doesn't get any more local than on Coffee Break on the HAN Network.
You are watching the HAN Network, and you're not alone. 102,000 viewers have enjoyed the HAN Network in just the last 6 weeks. Advertise on the network that reaches Fairfield County, Connecticut's most engaged audience. Contact Jessica Murrin, Advertising Director, at 203-273 Network.
Welcome back to Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network. I'm Rob Adams, Dave Stewart alongside for the day. And, the schedule has come out from. I want to spend a moment on that so you know what time these games are being played. And then, of course, I will have my usual meltdown. Okay, Class Double L on the boys' side. Fairfield tonight, Danbury and Hillhouse play tomorrow. You could give them Friday off, let them play Saturday. The CIAC says, okay, what if it's Danbury and Fairfield Prep? Let's let them play. what the heck? Why don't you go from one end of the state back to the other? No skin off our backs. 5:30 Sunday is the boys Double L final. Now, of course, there are other teams who would like to stake their claim for that same game, and I understand that. All right, in Class L, that's 8:15 Saturday night, East Catholic and Middletown. In Class M, that Sacred Heart and Bloomfield, as well as Northwest Catholic and Notre Dame of Fairfield. That's 3 o'clock on Saturday. This is all at Mohegan Sun Arena. Then Class and Coggeshall, we love saying Coggeshall, and that is 6:15 Saturday night at Mohegan Sun Arena. So that's the boys' side. Let's switch over and we'll take a look at the ladies' side as well. And again, just in case, I'll save Class Double L because I'm coming back to that one. Class L, 12:30 Sunday, Capital Prep and New London. Now, in terms of travel, New London, no big deal. And Capital rides $3.95 to $2 for Capital Prep, and New London jumps on $3.95, and they're basically home. So Class L, not a big deal. Class M, Cromwell and Notre Dame of Fairfield. That's 12:30 on Saturday. Basketball kicks things off, Thomaston and Canton, and that is 10 o'clock on Saturday, leaving us with Class Double L, and I truly do not understand the CIAC's logic. I do not. Sunday, for 2 FCIAC teams playing almost into Rhode Island, let's make them trek all the way back across the state, Stamford and Greenwich. Greenwich, the furthest town, all the way down, almost into New York at that point. I don't get it.
Is the fact that the way they ran that girls' tournament, you're talking about 2 teams that are going to play for the Double L championship that haven't played since last Friday.
Right.
They're going to go 8 days without having a game, and then they're supposed to travel to Mohegan Sun at 3 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon and play each other when the season. So I just think they handled the girls' tournament wrong. They did everything to line up with the boys' basketball. And some of the decisions, Ward and Stanford had to play on a Saturday after playing for the FCIAC championship on Friday night, and they didn't space it out right. It just seems like to try to get everything in one weekend, where but it's a detriment to the girls' sport. Really, it really is.
It is.
It's great that they're playing in that arena, and that arena is nice to play in, and a great experience for them. Once they get into the game, I'm sure everything will be fine. But just the whole logistics of it, I don't like. I
mean, I get it in that, to a certain extent, I don't want to be in their shoes because they've got tough decisions to make, and I understand all that, and let's compare it to the selection of the 68 teams that go to March Madness. That's not an easy room to sit in, and you have to understand that, especially now on TV, and I guess to a certain extent, you can possibly say the very same thing about that.
Yes.
Meaning the CIAC. And I do understand that these games are, broadcast and sports, and these are still students that got to get up Monday morning and go to school, and there's still I just don't understand having Stanford and Greenwich drive darn across the state. That part I don't understand.
Yeah, obviously you love the fact that these games are broadcast. You love the games, the fact that people can watch these games, the families can go back and watch the games. I just feel like, and I have no problem with them playing this weekend, and if that's the way the schedule falls, that's the way the schedule falls.
And I know you got to work with the arena, too, to get the dates.
Exactly.
So you'd prefer Friday, Saturday?
My biggest problem is the way the tournament was spaced out.
Yes.
They could have divided that up a little better, and you end up, you kind of have a quick jump start to the tournament for them when you call off for 4 or 5. All of a sudden, you're looking at a week off for these 2 teams, which are double L schools, have played great this season, have 2 of the best players in the state. Greenwich, Abby Wolf, and Tana. Just 2 great players, 2 great teams, and you're giving them 8 days off. I don't see how there can't be some rust to shake off right off the bat.
I admit, as a media member, it's probably going to keep me from going Saturday. And now that it's Sunday afternoon, I don't know that I see myself making admittedly, I have to go the full state because I've got to go across the line into New York. Yep. So, it's a little different. but dedicate the entire Sunday of going out to Mohegan Sun. It's a shame. I really do want to be able to see that game. It's a great matchup. We've seen
it's an awesome
both those
matchup.
teams. We've seen both of those teams right here on our very network. You know, we saw Greenwich, Ridgefield, and we saw Stanford win a title and look very good doing it. I wanted to see how Abby Wolf and Tiana England finish their high school careers. I think it's phenomenal to see in person.
I think in the end it'll be a fantastic game because it is a fantastic matchup, and you know you've got to figure any of the seniors on these teams, especially the two stars we talked about, are going to put it all on it. Both programs in their first state championships, and you know it just seems like, you know, Greenwich, they're both coming from different spots too. Stanford played that whole FCIAC tournament, all 3 games, won the championship, really up on a big high, and continued into the states. Has to wait a little while, comes back, goes on its run, you know, has a big win over Ward, knocks Ward out, which I didn't think was going to happen. You know, but it's a great matchup. It should be a great game. I just hope there isn't any rust from having that long period of time off, and you know, and they could have avoided that if they had them, you know, it like that, but it is what it is at this point.
It absolutely is what it is, but you know, for those of you interested in history, first time that either one of these teams is making the state championship game in the CIAC format. There's apparently a banner that says Stanford won a title in 1926, but that's much pre. I covered Greenwich for a long time, so I know the town, and I know that was a basketball program that was largely dormant in so many ways. It's never been a basketball town. Stanford's a great sports town. Greenwich has never really been a basketball town, and here they are playing for a championship. It's really cool.
Yeah, they've really become a great basketball school, because you look at the boys are always contenders.
Much better now,
and much better now. Of course, are great. You want to see what happens when Abby Wolf graduates, because obviously she's somebody who, you know, could put the team on her back and carry it. But you know, I think that they'll be fine. They have good younger players too, and you know, they should be okay. One last time.
My first basketball broadcast partner, Mark Smallwood, basically built the Greenwich boys program, and then Bill Brem really made it into a machine with some other guys.
Bill Brem was something else,
He's a heck of a guy. We're out for a break here on Nutmeg. We'll come back. Still have a little bit of hockey to do. We got to talk about the Darien Blue Wave in action later tonight. Let's see if they will get to a network.
Denali is your outdoor retail destination in the Westfield Trumbull Mall. For the last 21 years, we have carefully selected clothing, footwear, and gear from a variety of the best outdoor brands, such as the North Face, Patagonia, Vineyard Vines, UGG, Merrell, GoPro, New Balance, and many more. Our stores have a friendly, knowledgeable staff to help you with all of your running, hiking, and cold weather needs. All things outdoorsy and awesome. Visit us in the Westfield Trumbull Mall or online at denalioutdoor.com.
Better and fast. Coastal Ortho Express gives you direct access to orthopedic care quickly. Their physicians are fellowship trained in sports medicine at world-class universities and are also team docked sports injuries. Go to Coastal Ortho Express. Open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building, 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or coastalorthoexpress.com. Coastal Orthopedics, keeping you on the move.
Nowhere when you're buying a car? Visit Pamby Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram for the one-stop buying experience and stop spinning your wheels.
Walter Stewart's Market in New Canaan is your time to find many of your favorite products, from great specials on everyday items to the freshest organic produce, artisanal cheeses, and grass-fed steaks. Chop off your knives to be sharpened. Grab a beautiful bouquet of spring flowers and stop in next door for a wine tasting. Always ready to lend a helping hand. So stop in to Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street today, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
I'm John Kovach. I'm a new presenter, and I want you to love fishing as much as I do. Tune in to Yankee Fisherman, Thursdays at 1 on the HAN Network. It's like going to the tackle shop without leaving your office.
You are watching the HAN Network, and you're not alone. Nearly 500,000 viewers in Fairfield County, Connecticut's most engaged audience. Contact Jessica Murrin, Advertising Director, at 203-273-7312 at HAN.network.
Back with you on Nutmeg Sports for our final couple of minutes. And before we get to just having a quick moment of fun with the NCAA final, Darien What do you think? That's a good game. With
That's
Notre
That's a
Dame.
real good game. It was 2-1 the first time.
Yeah.
Notre Dame West Haven. Now I can't remember. Darien had a lead in that, right? 1-0, and then Notre Dame came back.
They did.
And like I said, it was.
And let's face it, the Green Knights have been feeding off emotion almost all season.
Yes, and it's a great program too.
It is a great program, no doubt about it. You have to have talent. Emotion can only carry you so far. You still have to have talent.
Yeah, and they do. Notre Dame West Haven always puts talent out there. It's just whether they can put it all together, because hockey's kind of a fickle sport, and that you can outplay the other team and not get the win if you shows this year how well they could play against certain teams, and then how poorly they did in other games. They had obviously a great season still, but it's just. It's Haven's on a roll right now. Darien has been one of the favorites since the beginning of the year, of course, defending champs. So, hey, so nice to put it all out there. That's such a close one. I mean, I'll lean Darien because I'm an FCIAC guy, but that's really tough one to call.
What do you do with Fairfield Prep and Hamden?
Well, I think we were talking about this last week about the records that aren't there, and Hamden we mentioned Prep, we mentioned Hamden, we mentioned New Canaan too, which gave Darien a great game last week, 3-2, 3-2 loss in the first round, but it just shows you playing very good schedules, playing great teams. It doesn't matter what their record is, they're what do you call it, bracket busters.
They are bracket busters,
and it's hard to say with them because they're they're really, when you think about it, they are the standard bearer for win all the time,
although Hamden has a great history.
Hamden has great history too. They go back even further.
They do.
When you think about it, So
I don't know that I'm.
Any combination of these four teams, right?
I
mean, they're all good and they're all hot right now too. Prep coming off the win over Xavier, and Hamden beating a Greenwich team. I thought they were playing well, and overtime loss. Go home.
So. They tip the ball off really tomorrow. I don't care about this first. Just having some fun with a couple of the guys around here.
Well, I hate going with the number one seeds a lot, but I'm picking Kansas in one bracket or one region, and I've got Kentucky.
All right.
I'm going with it.
I will read off a couple of the guys. AJ Simonowski decided to have some fun with it. He said Kansas, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Michigan State, with Tom Izzo and the Spartans taking the championship.
That's a good one too. Michigan State is a popular pick to win it right now.
I have to admit, you're going to hear this in a moment. Eric Gendron went Kansas, Texas A&M, Michigan State, and Kentucky, and he'll take Michigan State to win the title. And finally, and I guess it must have been something in the Kansas, and believe me, Bill Self and the Jayhawks find a way to screw things up when they get to the tournament quite often. It's tempting to look at a team like, I think Miami could have to get to the Final Four out of the South, out of the West. The West is where I had a little bit of fun. Duke, I could have seen it. I can't see Oregon, which means Oregon's going to win it all, of course. I just have the Texas, and I'm going to take the Longhorns to make it to the Final Four for the fun of it. So Kansas and Texas on one side, on the opposite side, coming out of the East. Again, Roy Williams has a history at Kansas and North Carolina of not being able to think NC makes the national championship game this year. They will make the Final Four. Kentucky, that's going to be a great game if that is the case in the regional East. And out of the Midwest, I just think Tom Izzo might, if he's not one of the greatest head coach, I don't know what more to tell you. I think Michigan State makes it. I'll take Michigan State, Kansas, with Michigan State winning the national championship.
See, I like North Carolina too, but I've been burned so many times with them in brackets that I couldn't go with them this year. I do like Kentucky. I think Kentucky is angry right now. Like we were talking about, they're a 4 seed, and I think they deserve better. And I think they're doing well. I hate to admit it because I hate to admit that I like things that he does, but Eric, I like his Final Four. But because Texas A&M, I have actually Texas A&M playing Duke in the bracket or in the regional final.
That'd be fun.
I have Duke winning, but other than that, our Final Four matches. So we're pretty close. Good job, Eric.
And there's always a 12-5, and sadly, you feel like you find that one 12-5 game and you want to keep it to yourself. But it sounds like everybody's got the same idea, and maybe it's because of where we all are regionally. I think the idea of Yale traveling up to Providence to take on Baylor, 12-5, Yale.
It's an interesting matchup. It's kind of interesting when you hear people's strategy, too, for filling out brackets, because when you get to those, like, 12-5s and 11-6s and stuff like that, that's where you kind of hear 4 of these and try to, you know, see what I can do and maybe pick up some luck, because those are the games where the big names come out of. You very rarely get, like, a 1-2 being upset. But you know, watch Kentucky now. I picked them; they'll get knocked out in the first round. But you know, it's interesting people's strategies when it comes to go with guts.
Just go with it, exactly. With all that said and done, that is it for Nutmeg Sports. We are back with you actually on Tuesday of next week. Back with you on Tuesday as the FCIAC Tour will hit the road for a day next Monday. Then we're back with you on Tuesday. Donald Eng and I will be here. Dave will be here next Wednesday. Thanks to Eric Gendron for directing. For Dave Stewart, Mike Suppy, I'm Rob Adams. Watching Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network, everyone. See ya.